What are the best and worst things about Oxford? The worst is the snobbishness, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, you can't tell now because my accent has undergone a transformation as I've travelled across the world the last 7 years. But when I turned up to Oxford with my fucking Essex accent, like, people fucking turned their nose up at me. And I would talk with the Essex accent, which it sounds a bit stupid. And I remember people just these Eton boys and girls like thinking I'm some yobby chav or some shit. So to be honest, what I did is I went the other way and I really layered it on thick. I had a real attitude problem about this. But then I ended up finding other people who were also similar backgrounds, had, not so posh accents and shit like that. So yeah, but the snobbishness is very, very real. The elitism is very, very real, and it's disgusting. I hate it. What other bad things are there? The intense workload. That's something I really don't like. I didn't like. You'd get like a few different tutorials a week. They'd be like, they could stretch on to a couple of hours and they're quite intense. A tutorial is with your tutor and your other peers. And in my college, there was only 3 others in my tutes. We call them tutes. So yeah, a couple of hours for each of those a week. On top of that, yeah, typically you have like 2 essays a week, can be more sometimes. And there's lectures, there's classes and all that sort of thing. So it's an intense environment, that's for sure. We were actually told when you come to Oxford, like normal university students can have a social life, extracurricular like hobbies or a sport, and do well in their studies. We had to pick 2. So it's like, do you want a social life and do well? Or do you want a hobby or a sport and do well? Or, whatever. We were also told not to get a part-time job, especially in term time. So think about that. So many people going into debt. Some people from working class backgrounds didn't have posh backgrounds, parents from fucking Eton paying their way, like going into debt and being told you can't have a part-time job for 3 fucking years. Screw you, Oxford, as far as I'm concerned. Got nothing good to say about that. What else? Oh, another bad thing, intellectual insecurity. There's a book by Malcolm Gladwell called David and Goliath, and he said that, I think he was studying Harvard students, but he said that you would be more happy, mentally secure, if you, despite getting an offer from Harvard, would end up going to a smaller college with less pressure. Totally true, 100%. If you get an offer from one of these big universities, like Oxbridge or one of the Harvard or Yale or something like that, really think about it, okay? Because like you'll have a good time, I'm sure, but it is. I've not had anything so intense before in my life. Everything afterwards has been a real dream. You know what I mean? And that's the thing, right? So like before I went to Oxford, I never had any intellectual insecurity. I didn't give a shit. But once you're there, it is everything. Like, and it's hard to describe this to somebody who hasn't been in it, but you have intense debates. Pretty much every waking moment, every conversation is a fucking debate. And you will go into tutorials and have your ideas ripped apart. You'll have an essay that you worked really hard on, made some sleepless nights, and put your heart and soul into, and then you'll get called in and your fucking tutor will just call you like an idiot, a moron or whatever. I had one tutor, I'm not going to name her, but she taught Old English and she's, doing the rounds at the moment for her Chaucer books, and she basically, called my intellect into question every damn time. Really pissy, really shitty attitude about like, hey Ben, are you even listening in class and all that? Made me feel really, really crap. So to be honest, I didn't even turn up to most of her classes and I didn't do her work. So the intellectual insecurity is interesting. I mean, even one of my best friends, every term we'd begin with like tests, and in the main lodge, like where you get your post, we have these things called pidges, like pigeonholes, where you get your post. And after you do the tests, you'd get the exams back with all the, the tutor's notes written on them and the marks and stuff. My friend, he would go there. He would wake up early every morning to try and find the tests. And then he would not look at his own. He would go through and take his peers' tests and read them before they even got a chance. He was very sneaky about this. So yeah, this sort of behaviour is common, and everybody is very insecure that the person next to them is smarter than them. And when you're in that environment, even if you don't really put much stock in your intellect, it rubs off, and yeah, not pleasant. So yeah, by the end of the first year, I was pretty burned out. Anyway, good things, diversity of intellect and opinion. You have people from all over the world, and what's interesting is you'll make friends in different subjects, so you'll get to see different perspectives and stuff like that. Most of my friends were biochemists, so talking about Shakespeare with biochemists is very interesting, as I'm sure they thought me struggling with their biochemical shit was quite interesting. What else? The tutors. All right, you are paying for the tutors, even though I didn't like most of them. They do know what they're talking about. They're very, very high class. They're the best in the world at their subject. And the ones who are good are really good. Like, I remember one tutor, he would invite us over to his house for dinner. Really nice night. He would cook for us. We'd drink. We'd talk about books. It can be very lovely. So it depends. You might be lucky and get some good tutors. If so, they are very much worth what you're paying for. Also the city. So like, I was never a huge fan of London just because it was too chaotic. But Oxford's like the best of London on a very small scale. It's beautiful. There's lots of areas of beauty that you can hang out, like the Botanic Gardens. Really cool bars. I would recommend going to Cowley. So everyone hangs around in the centre, but the real cool stuff is just a bit out in this gritty sort of neighbourhood called Cowley. You've got like Persian shisha bars, you've got like independent cinemas, you've got milkshake bars, you've got vinyl record stores. That's really cool. Oxford, great food. People generally are quite stressed, so it can feel quite cold. But if you have a circle of friends and a social base, it's a nice city to hang out, that's for sure.